Hello, everyone. I hope you have been awaiting this panel. I have been awaiting this panel because I think here with us, we actually have an amazing lineup, really, in terms of experience on CBDC in general. But of course, a panel with a lot of progress on retail CBDC in specific. So in terms of the participants to this panel, we have Mr. Germain, who is from the Central Bank of the Bahamas, who, as you know, was the first central bank actually to roll out a CBDC, which was the cent and still is the cent dollar. And he will be introducing us to the cent dollar's progress. Then we have Ms. Evelyn Whitlocks, and she's the head of the Digital Euro program. It is, I guess, the retail CBDC that we're all waiting for. Then we have Mr. Mu, who is the head of the Digital Currency Institute of the People's Bank of China, who, as you know, is advanced on rolling out the ECNY. Then we have here represented Ms. Assel from the National Bank of Kazakhstan. She is the Deputy CEO and she's the CTO. So, as said, extremely esteemed panel. I think there wouldn't be a better panel to represent the knowledge of the day. I would say the knowledge till now on CBDC. So without further ado, I'm going to let each of them introduce just on a very high level their role and their project, and then we will go in detail asking questions from everybody about the progress of their specific project. So maybe I start with you, Asel.
Yes, again, my name is Asel Marchenko. I'm from Kazakhstan. Actually, I'm from National Payment Corporation. It's a subsidiary of Central Bank of Kazakhstan, and we are technical operator of Central Bank. We are running all platform, RTGS, instant payment, and we are running R&D. And CBDC projects, one of our R&D projects, which we launched in production environment last year, and I have opportunity to participate in project, and maybe a little bit later I will dive in.
Mr. Mu?
I'm Mu Zhangchun. I'm from the People's Bank of China. I'm working in the Digital Currency Institute. And our project, the ECNY, originally was called DCEP, Digital Currency and Electronic Payment, which actually accurately describe the nature of our CBDC program. We started this program back to 2014, which actually 10 years already, it's a decade ago. And we started our open pilot since 2019. Our organization was opened in 2016. And now we have almost 500 people, including almost 50% of them are business people from the payment sector and also the financial sector. And then the other part, we have almost half technicians, coding people. And so our project actually we are doing in-house. We don't do outsource, but that will definitely create a lot of problem for us. But you know, in China, we are trying to do it all in-house to make it more, in terms of a two-tier system, make it more, become a more ownership to the central bank and the commercial banks. So that's the brief introduction of our program. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Great. And Ms. Whitlocks?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Evelien Whitlocks. I work for the ECB. I have a long history in payments, and so I'm very happy now to contribute to the program of the Digital Euro, which is a program of the Euro system and aimed at introducing a retail CBDC, as you indeed said before. I'm a bit the odd one out because we are still in a preparation phase. I will say a bit more about that later on. So we're not live yet.
And Mr. Campbell?
Good afternoon, all. My name is Jermaine Campbell. I'm with the Central Bank of the Bahamas. the manager of the currency department, where the financial market infrastructures, including payment systems and sand dollar digital currency, falls under our remit. I'm very happy to be here to share with you some of the experiences we've had since we've rolled out the digital currency. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll start with you, Mr. Mu. If you could please explain to the audience the progress that you've seen in terms of the E1, including also the challenges and the lessons that you've learned from this over 10 years now, as you mentioned, and also what you think is the future roadmap for the ECNY.
Okay, thank you, Benny. We, as I said earlier, we launched our pilot, the open pilot, in 2019, and now we have already covered 17 provinces and 26 cities across China. And by this July 31st, the ECNY in circulation achieved RMB 19.3 billion, and that is actually the balance of the total balance of all the corporates and individual wallets. And the total transaction value achieved RMB 7.3 trillion. And total transaction amounted reached 2 billion, and 180 million wallets were opened through the ECNY app dedicatedly. We don't actually count the wallets open through the commercial banks app and also on the counter. We don't count that part of the wallets. And on average, the balance is around RMB 55 per individual wallet, and RMB 618 per corporate wallet. So you can see from the number or the balance of each wallet, you can see we don't have any disintermediation effect or risks. So from our experiment or from our part, you can see that the commercial banks don't need to worry. The CBDC of China is not a disruptor. We are not disrupting the business model of the commercial banks. We are not going to be a disruptor for the PSPs, including Alipay and WeChat Pay. We work as the water in the pipe. We are not going to disrupting every market players in the payment markets. And we also made some progress in the field of ECNY smart contract. Currently, the ECNY smart contracts are applied in use cases including prepaid fund management, supply chain financing, credit management, and government subsidies. You can see that is the helicopter money distributed by the local government to to stimulate the local consumption market. And as of September, 346,000 transactions were conducted through smart contract functions, amounting to 57 million yuan. That's the news, the brief of the current progress. And for the challenges or the lessons we learned through the pilot, actually we see that the innovation is never cheap. It comes a lot of prices. And firstly, I think my lessons learned from this pilot is we have to establish or improve the legal environment, or and also the public awareness first. So that's the first priority we should do before any introduction of or full rollout of a CBDC program. Because although in China we have the law of People's Bank of China, which doesn't have any obstacles for the issuance of ECNY or CBDC. But the problem actually existing in the details. For every piece of regulations or government circulars, regulatory documentations, there are a lot of details, seeing that for some the regulatory doesn't actually accommodate the CBDC at all. So we found a lot of conflict among the government ministries' regulations and detailed circulars for everyday life in the payment market. We need to integrate the regulations or the business rules and technical rules of the CBDC or ECNY into the existing government legal environment or framework. That is a very hard job to do because we have thousands of regulations actually issued several years ago, even decades ago. We have to accommodate or integrate the CBDC or ECNY into that existing legal framework. We need a lot of coordination among ministries, and even among the departments within our own organization, that's PBC. So that's a lot of job to do. That's the biggest challenge we're going to face in the future. Secondly, is the lessons we learn is to establish a ecosystem for the CBDC. Several years ago, when we talk about CBDC, I ever talked to some some crypto assets field, some expert from those crypto assets. He told me that we don't need an acquiring environment for the crypto assets because the crypto assets could be transferred peer-to-peer. So we don't need to acquire service providers. But I think from my experience in our program, I said that's wrong. We do need a whole ecosystem for the ECNY or for the CBDC because we need the wallet holders, the host service providers like the commercial banks or the PSPs. And then we do need acquirers in the market to do the labor-intensive jobs because they need to place the QR code plate or the POS machine from merchants to merchants. That's a very intensive, labor-intensive job. We do need them. So if you want them to do the service or provide the ECNY acquiring system services to the market, you do need to provide incentives. But from the very beginning, we don't design the incentives for the market. So now, although we don't charge anything, we said we are free of charge. But the problem is no merchants actually are very eager to join the system because if you don't charge, that means the acquirers cannot benefit from the system. So in the future, we do need to provide a market incentive mechanisms to let the money speaks, let every player in this ecosystem to earn profit. Then we can make the whole system running. So those are the lessons learned from our experience. So in the future, I think the job we need to do, firstly, as most of the citizens now in Beijing said, the Sibos seems like a financial Olympics. But you are the players. We as central bank, we cannot do the player. We don't play in the field. We have to do. We need to design the rules. We do the supervision, but we don't play in the market. We don't, we should act as a coach or judge, something like that, but not a player. So firstly, we have to establish an ecosystem of the ECNY, of the CBDC, and taking a market-oriented approach. That means we have to provide incentive mechanisms and establish a very complete ecosystem for the CBDC. Secondly, we have to improve the legal environment and also integrate the CBDC or ECNY into the whole legal framework. And of course, the last but not least, to raise the public awareness. Let every people or every participants in the market to understand what are you doing, what are your products you can provide, what kind of incentives you could provide. Then we can make the whole ecosystem for the market. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much. That was a lot of information and a lot of impressive numbers. So even though there are obviously still challenges ahead, it does seem like the adoption has made quite significant progress. Good. So I'll pass it over to Ms. Whitlocks. So obviously you are running the Digital Euro project, and it would be great if you can give us some updates on the progress of the project, including the tender and the key milestones and timelines. And then obviously from a European perspective, we know that privacy is a very leading topic, and security often goes paired with privacy. So we would like your insight on this. And maybe on a longer term timeline, whether there is any implications or any let's say, focus on the cross-border transaction side for the digital euro. Thank you.
It's a wide scope of questions, so let me try to be condensed. So as I said before, we are still in a preparation phase. This was preceded by an investigation phase, of 2 years. And during that, we actually designed the digital euro. And I'm actually happy to learn that some of the things that you brought forward, we were able to integrate in our project approach. So from the start, we have believed that it's important that we don't design the digital euro in an ivory tower. As long as you can say that the euro system itself is an ivory tower, it's already 20 countries. But apart from that, we have set up or reused a platform we have in Europe, which is the European Retail Payments Board, where we have representatives of both the merchants, the consumers, and then payment service providers, being both banks and non-banks. And we did our analysis, checked them with the market, took their feedback, and then in 2 years' time, we touched upon most of the elements of the digital euro, which is a public good by itself. We have designed it actually really as a retail use case, so we have prioritized the use cases peer-to-peer, e-commerce, and POS. And other use cases we see, but could be explored later also to make the focus not too long. And we would foresee both an online digital euro as an offline digital euro. And an important element, and I think you touched upon that as well, is that we have said it will not be the central bank that will distribute the digital euro, but we will distribute the digital euro both to the merchants and the consumers via payment service providers. So really facilitating the ecosystem there. So in parallel with our investigation phase, the European Commission also worked on a draft legislation. So maybe some of the legal points you mentioned, our approach has been slightly different because the Commission has worked in parallel with us on a draft legislation, which they published in the summer of 2023. And currently there are ongoing discussions both in the European Parliament as in the European Council in order to see if this legislation could be adopted. So after the investigation phase and while this legislative debate is ongoing, we are currently in the preparation phase, which is a phase of, again, 2 years. So we started last year, we will end next year, October, November. So we're in the middle of this phase. And there we are, as the name says already, preparing ourselves for a potential launch. And there are a couple of things that we do there. So first of all, we are developing a rule book, which standardize the digital euro, so that at a certain point in time, when there would be decided to issue a digital euro, there would everybody would know what to build. So not only the European Central Bank, the euro system, but also the intermediaries that need to distribute and the merchants that need to accept. And this is also, again, we do with a platform which we set up with all market stakeholders there, which we call the Rulebook Development Group, merchants, consumers, and again, payment service providers, where we also focus on defining a good digital euro that speaks to the needs of both the consumers and the merchants, but also looks to a very efficient way to fit it into the current ecosystem, so to look to reuse of current standards and processes. So that's one element. The other element is the sourcing, and we started that process at the beginning of the year for the elements that the euro system would need to provide. We do foresee that a large part would be provided by the National Central Bank, so we do also in-house development, but there are also elements for which we are looking for external suppliers. So for example, for offline, we foresee a digital euro app, so there are a couple of elements that we actually aim to source externally. And then next to that, we do a lot of further exploration. So we do user research. We want to do also some more technical exploration, maybe in the area of conditional payments. We want to do that next year. And for example, we're very much doing a deep dive on the holding limits. I'm happy to hear that that your experience is that it has not been disruptive, but it's a topic in Europe. So we have designed a digital euro with a holding limit. And then at some point in time, of course, this holding limit needs to be set. And we're currently working together again with the market input on how to design these models. So first, which factors to consider. Now we do the modeling, and then we hope in the course of 2025, with data that we have, to do a first run of the models, which could give an indication of the holding limit at a certain point in time. And then, of course, we're further thinking about what would we need to do when we would really go for launching a digital euro. That is, of course, about being technically ready, doing the testing, both with the intermediaries and the merchants. But also, and that is a point that you raised as well, we're very aware, of course, that we need, of course, then to make people aware what the digital euro is. So what is it? How can you use it? Where can you use it? So that would be rather large-scale communication around that point in time. But we're thinking about that already. So that's where we are. I want to say one more thing. We do all this work in parallel, as I said, with the legislative process, and we have committed, the Governing Council would not take any decision on a potential issuance before this legislation has been adopted. So that is the larger picture of the program. You touched upon a quite big topic, so I take some time. But also on privacy, that's indeed a very important topic for the society, I would say. When we did a consultation before we started the investigation phase, this came out as the top one priority. And actually, we have really fully integrated that into the design. As I said before, we would have 2 digital euros. So the first one is the online one, where you start your transaction and it will be initiated through your payment service provider. That service provider needs to do KYC, AML, CFT, so need to see your data for these purposes. But once it could go to the central bank, where it would be settled, it will be anonymized. So that means that we will not be able to connect any transaction to a private individual. So with that, we really think we have really built a very secure digital euro, private. And then we have also the offline digital euro, where you would make a transaction between 2 devices, 2 secure elements. And there the transaction is not going even on a network. So that level of privacy is even closer to cash as it currently have. And then last but not least, but we might come up on that later, on cross-border. Of course, the Eurozone has already 20 borders. We really design a digital euro which would be actually unique in its sort, because in Europe we don't have any payment solution that you can use throughout Europe for all 3 use cases. So we believe in that sense the digital euro will be unique. And then, so that is also our first priority, to make sure that we have a good digital euro for the European citizens. But then, of course, after that, we do see potentials, of course, to connect to other retail CBDCs, and we would be open also for having bilateral agreements of that, and it's even also catered for in the draft legislation. And in that sense, we follow very closely the work in the BIS and the G20 and the G7 on this aspect. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much. That was very useful and a lot of information indeed. Okay, so Asela, I'll pass it over to you. If you can introduce to the audience the progress on the digital tenge, as well as, let's say, the economic impetus for it. So what are the economic implications, both again domestically, and whether you see any forward-looking connection to other regional CBDC or other systems?
Thank you, Benedict. As you may know, the digital tenge platform was launched last year in limited production mode. And there is a plan to have fully fledged industrial scale in 2025. So currently, we are working on expanding our platform with functionality and functional and non-functional characteristics. The main goal for this year is introduce new scenario for public fund spending. And additionally, we have few pilot scenarios with tax management and integration with DeFi. Regarding impact or effect to economics, according to our study, we made a research, white paper is publicly available in 2022. Actually, we do not see any significant impact to economy at all. Actually, from the very beginning, we defined the conditions with what conditions digital tenge will go to live. So we do not expect any digital run or any other negative impacts. Actually, but for emergency cases, actually we have some tools prepared, like transaction limits, no interest applied for digital tenge, and so on. Additionally, we actually believe that CBDC could significantly enhance the cross-border payments. So it's one of our priority to now prepare this policy of standards, of protocols, of formats, how we could integrate with other CBDC platforms, at least at Central Asia. And we have a lot of discussion with our partners how we will do it. And actually, we believe that we need not only to prepare some interoperability within the CBDC platforms of different countries, but actually prepare the base for integration with international systems and regional maybe payment system. For example, Visa, MasterCard, SWIFT, we actually working with BIS too, and we started this discussion in 2023. It's very important due to we need to provide the end users the possibility to use very understandable way to use that money. So if they're using the way they know, for example, credit card, debit card, we believe the adoption will be much faster than it could be.
Great, thank you. And so, last but not least, Mr. Campbell. So, yes, if you can bring us back to the launch of the Sand Dollar, what was the vision behind it, the motivation? How have you seen adoption? Has it been easy? Has it been hard? Have you had to think about incentives? And are there any obvious future developments that you've planned?
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So the Bahamas, we started our journey with the Sand Dollar digital currency just before COVID. And so we started our pilot in one of the our family islands. And then, of course, COVID hit. So what that did is that delayed some of the movement and interaction that we wanted, and engagement that we wanted to do with our family island communities. But notwithstanding, since then, we have seen adoption, and we're satisfied today with where we are. We did initially have to incentivize the program, but now we see today that along the islands, merchants, individuals are now familiar. So there's knowledge of exactly what Sand Dollar is, for the most part what it does, and some of the benefits available to the community. There were some of the earlier challenges, as some of the panelists would have indicated, in terms of knowledge sharing, persons understanding what it is, adoption, and those type things. But for us in the Bahamas, we saw a very clear need in bringing together the payment landscape for the widespread islands and communities to tap into the unbanked and underbanked within our communities. We have several islands where there are no commercial banks, the brick and mortar institution. There are very few, if any, ATM automated banking machines, and so the central bank stepped in to provide a tangible solution in the form of the digital currency. That's backed by the central bank, so it's essentially digital fiat. And so we've seen it progress. We work with the PSPs and MTBs to push the Sand Dollar brand to their customers. What we see in the future is ongoing adoption. So the adoption doesn't stop, it never stops. So that's something that we recognize, and we have to continue to progress. But what we would like to see is the velocity, the circulation velocity. So for us, it's not so much so the value or the volume of Sand Dollars in currency, but for the persons who need to use it, where there's great benefit for them, that they are in fact using it in these communities. And therein is the benefit for us on a number of levels, because it, over time we expect to reduce our cost for production of banknotes and coins. We expect to provide a safer environment for the execution of payments and transactions, reduce some of the risk and logistical costs associated with cash and the movement of cash and those type things. But we like where we are today in terms of the adoption, the integration, the knowledge sharing of persons understanding what it is. But we still have some work to do. We want to see it progress, and like I said, we want to see velocity continue to move and circulate within the Bahamian community. So I'll stop there, really.
Great. So I'll now turn to some open questions to the panel, and maybe you can pick up as you wish. I think there are some underlying topics that we touched upon that I want to just bring forward, and even though they're not in the script here. So the first topic, I think, is for your markets. I think that consumers have different priorities. So if you needed to think about in your market the most core priority of your your user of your digital currency, what would it be for your respective markets?
Well, I'll start.
Yeah.
So I'll start. So again, we're a beautiful archipelago of small islands, and so for the consumers, it's ease of transactions, it's tying them into the payment system infrastructure, and so that is one of the key benefits. If for many of us, we may not realize some of the challenges of not having a banking institution on an island. And so that creates a cash problem, that creates logistics, all sorts of challenges. And so I think that's one of the key things that a consumer at the end of the day, if they can just transfer, digital currency or digital fiat and pay a vendor, transfer it to a family member, or a family member on one of the main islands can transfer it to them so that they can execute a payment and transaction. So I think those are where some of the greater value for the consumers lie. And then on the merchant side, there's no real charge or there's nothing to disincentivize them not to accept, which is essentially payments for services or products. Really.
Thank you.
Shall we just do?
Yeah.
Then I'll go. So then maybe to start with the consumers and then the merchants, I think for the digital euro, it would be first and foremost that we have something like a banknote that you can trust, you can use everywhere in the Eurozone, and that you can pay peer-to-peer, you can pay online, you can pay in-store with the same actually payment means. So that is one. It would be free for basic use with a high level of privacy, as I have just explained. So I think those are the core elements for, say, on the short term, and I think for the medium to long term, although maybe consumers are not so concerned because they don't know how payments and money work, they don't think about it, let's put it this way, on a daily basis, I think it's really securing that also for the future payments remain accessible because there is a public good to pay with. Mm-hmm. On the merchant side, the story is a bit simpler. Like payments has a tendency of, it's a network product, so it has a tendency of a monopoly, duopoly, at least of very strong market players. And the merchant very much value the fact that there would be a true alternative that would keep the market honest and would keep the market efficient also for now and into the future.
Okay. Well, I think we, because we are central bankers, we share the same happiness and the same sadness. And well, the first priority definitely will be, of course, at least in the social media, the privacy issue definitely will be at least the press will regard that as the first priority of our ECNY program. It seems that everybody is saying that, okay, you are creating a new tool for the government to monitor the daily life of every normal people. Why do you do that? So that's the first concern we have to address to the normal audience, especially the press. And it seems most of the normal users doesn't even care about that, but the press definitely care about this topic. And then so privacy definitely will be a priority of our program. And so that's why we designed a tiered or the categorized a wallet system. We have 4 category of wallets, personal individual wallets, and the least privileged one will open only with your mobile number. And since it's not a commercial, since you are now in Beijing, you can try our product, trying to search the ECNY in the App Store or any Android market. You can download it, try it. You can open a wallet. You don't need to have a mainland China commercial bank account. You can download and open with your own country's mobile number, I hope it can work smoothly. And so you only provide your mobile number, open a wallet. You don't need to provide your ID information to open a least privileged wallet. Of course, to have a balance between privacy protection, also the to combating illicit transactions, for example, money laundering or terrorist financing, something like that, tax evasion, and we have to keep a balance. That why we have a cap on the balance of the least privileged or the category 4 wallets, and also the cumulative transaction limit cap on the wallets. So then we can keep a balance of the AML and safety and also privacy protection. Of course, at the same time, we have to observe the personal information protection law. Actually, it only took enforcement last year, and we actually cannot retrieve the personal information, ID information from the telecom operators, because even with the telecom number, the telecom operators still have your ID information in China, but with the personal information protection law, the commercial banks and also the central bank cannot retrieve that ID information from the telecom operators. So for the commercial banks and central banks, the category 4 holders are actually anonymous to the central bank and the commercial bank. But if there's something bad happens, some illicit transactions happen, suspicious transaction happens with the category 4 wallets holders, and the law enforcement agencies, they have present the legal warranty to check the information from the commercial banks and also retrieve the ID information from the telecom operators, so we can keep a balance. That's that's the how to protect the privacy of the users. And for our internal data management, we also don't want to, as head of the DCI, the Digital Currency Institute, I don't want my colleagues to check my payment information. So I have to protect myself. Even after my retirement, I have to protect my personal information. So I set up a very restrict measures to protect the data, the consumer's data. We have a very prudent data protection system within our within our organization. We classify the data into 5 categories. Any information that is related to personal information will be masked in our system. And with the legal guarantee, with 2 staff together, simultaneously with the permission from the senior management, 2 persons will have to simultaneously open and retrieve that exact piece of information, payment information, and send it to the law enforcement agency. So in that way, we can, I can protect my information and protect my colleagues' information. Also, I believe my senior management, my governor, don't want me to see his or her information. So that's why to protect all the general public is to protect ourselves. And of course, on the other hand, we have to to combat all those illicit transactions. For example, in China, we have experienced a lot of tele scams. In order to protect the funds of those general public, we also have to enforce the airman safety measures in place. So the commercial banks, they are still will be responsible to report the large transactions and also suspicious transactions to the FIUs of China. And at the same time, we are employing the AI and big data techniques to identify any suspicious or tele-scams to protect the personal fund of our users. So that's the first priority of our users. And secondly, of course, that is we have to, as I said, we have to provide incentives in the future. Now, no one actually benefit from the system yet. So I believe let the money speaks to have a healthy ecosystem. And I think I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you.
What about Kazakhstan? I believe the first of priority for us, it's, as now, of course, it's public fund spending. Due to we see that it could actually bring clear benefits to our public, to our citizens, and show how digital tenge could help make it more efficient, transparent, and decrease this level of corruption that could have place. The next one is cross-border payments, of course. And actually, we have a roadmap, and we are going to present it. I believe in the next few years, we will do such regional projects, and we believe we will have some good results regarding the time, regarding the fees, amount on fees, and so on. The third one, it's integration with DeFi. In this year, actually, we receive all confirmation from all third parties and government bodies. I believe we will go to production with CryptoCard, which will be linked to e-wallet from crypto stock exchange and so on, and we will allow to spend USDT via CBDC on Kazakhstan soil. So actually, we believe it will help to make this adoption work and provide this possibility to spend my own money, my own crypto assets, but in different form that I keep, for example. And maybe last but not least, one of the key priorities is awareness again, because it's very important to people understand that we are not tracking their money. Actually, we doesn't need track something. And from the very beginning in Digital Tenge platform, we created rules that we will never track money of retail customers. We do it only for public. We have two scenarios, mark and hold, and we are doing it only for public money. Due to public money, it's our taxes, and as a citizen want to know how government spending this money. If something bad happens, I want to know why it happened and what we should do to prevent it. So it's very important to make this awareness, and we are trying to deal with it. And actually, it's difficult part. It's difficult people to understand what it's CBDC at all and how it works due to its very not simple technology. And you need some courage to make, or some power to understand how it actually works. And why it's interesting with DeFi, due to we believe it's very important to provide that possibility to make this flow work in and out. Due to, of course, we can close our eyes, but it will not make it disappear, this gray cash flow which exists right now. And I believe we will know it, maybe we will make it work more effective or with some use for economy of country, actually. I think that's all.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we're in the last 10 minutes now. So maybe a couple of questions. Again, maybe start with you, Mr. Campbell. If you needed to give some advice to other countries, given that you were one of the first to implement it, what advice would you give?
So that's a very good question. What I often say is that there has to be a real business case for digital currency. There has to be some impetus, some benefit to the country, not just implementing it because someone else has done it. I would say that's the first thing. The second is education. So if you start the educational and knowledge program early on, to ensure that people have a very clear understanding of what digital currency really is. It also provides an opportunity to dispel some of the myths, like the government trying to capture information, and so all of that ahead of time paves the way for that very clear knowledge and understanding, and then just generally a segmented and targeted rollout process when the system is ready. And so that way the users get to see an efficient operating system that is easy to understand and use, and you can answer questions, and I think some of those are the key things. If done early on, will eliminate some of or reduce some of the challenges later on in the process. So that's what I would say in that regard. I can go on, but I'll stop there.
Thank you. And Mr. Mu, do you want to add something to this in terms of your advice to other countries if they start this journey? Maybe also, I think one thing about retail CBDCs, so far there isn't like one retail CBDC tech stack. Everybody is using other tech stacks. Is there any learnings there or any recommendations?
Technical path, you mean?
Yeah, either the technical side of the implementation or the practical side.
Well, what I can provide you advice to other central banker colleagues. Of course, my challenges and my lessons learned are definitely worth to mentioning in the advice list. And I want to add one more point to that is do have the two-tier system, the two-tier operation system in place. That is to gather everyone around you. Don't push your friends to the competitors. Don't create any enemies in your system. So use the two-tier operation system. And we don't touch the cheese of every private sector participants. We keep from the fields, we keep from the playing fields. We create a level playing field for all the market participants. So definitely two-tier system is a very valuable experience I would like to recommend. And of course, during the process, we have to do in a market-oriented way to let every participant in your system to earn profit. Let the money speaks. And we don't want to touch your cheese in your field. And we want you earn more profit because of the introduction of the CBDC. We want to lower the cost of the market participants. We don't want to increase your cost. We don't want to decrease your profit. That's my suggestion or our experience learned from the pilot. Of course, in that case, we have to do a lot of job from the central bank. And that's the first time in the history that we work with the private sector so closely together. Because before the introduction of the two-tier system, the central bank works alone. We don't work so closely with the private sectors. That's the first time in the history, in the currency or the fiat currency system, we have to work with all the participants, including the commercial banks, the PSPs, the telecom operators, even big enterprises, government agencies. We have to work together because the money transfer from hand to hand, from corporate to corporate. It doesn't actually only rely on the central banks. We rely on everyone in the society. So we don't play alone. We play with all the citizens, all the members of the economic system. Thank you.
Thank you. And then maybe I'll target the question about future trends and longer term vision to our remaining two speakers. So Asel, can you tell us what you think the future trends are, or the longer term vision of CBDC?
In Kazakhstan or overall?
Doesn't matter.
Actually, I want to add that I fully agree with your opinion regarding it. It's actually the same what we are doing in Kazakhstan, and it's the first projects that bring together banks and central bank, and we actually doing with commercial sector together. It's very important, and I believe it make work of central bank more transparent and understandable to the market. And we are friend, not the enemy, and together we could bring more value-added services to consumers, actually. I believe that CBDC will get more adoption due to it actually very interoperable with legacy and traditional system, because it's fully support current standards due to is from the beginning. What is it, CBDC? Actually, it's a digital cash. So, and it brings by central bank. It respects the standards. So I believe it will get maybe in few years really big adoption. Of course, 9 of 10 central banks are exploring CBDC. It will bring value and bring results. Of course, some countries will be ahead, some countries ahead, but I'm sure when we will see the benefits in 1 or 2 examples, all others will go forward and make this adoption faster. And then we will see the first big global impact. I believe it will be these cross-border payments, which will work faster, cheaper, and I believe it will bring some impact to global economy at the end.
Thank you. And the final word to you, Evelyn.
Yeah, so we believe that a digital euro indeed would provide a platform for innovation, actually in 2 forms. So first of all, with the digital euro, the way it's foreseen currently, it would be legal tender. That means that all euro area citizens have access, and also all merchants that accept the digital means of payments will have to accept it. So you really have a really wide reach across Europe, so a very good platform to build any additional business cases on. For example, use cases around conditional payments, more programmable payments, not money. Let me be very clear on that. So there we already see an opportunity for innovation for the full market. Next to that, there is, with the digital euro, there would be a standard that could be rolled out over Europe. It is an open standard which will, we believe, facilitate pan-European new schemes that are based on instant payments. So it will actually provide a missing piece that is currently there for instant payments. And then last but not least, but there I connect to what was said before, of course, with having 1 digital euro for the whole of Europe, cross-border payments between Europe and the rest of the world would be much more easy to achieve than if you need to connect all the current retail payment solutions we currently have. So we see a future there as well.
Great, thank you. I think we're right on time, so thank you very much to my fellow panelists for these insights. Thank you.